The summer pool party has officially begun, and this year we're doing something special.
That's right. Instead of making you wait so many weeks, we're doing every week in the pool.
Not only that, we're doing Patreon pools, and then the next week we're doing a producer pool, and then we're doing a Patreon pool, and then we're doing a producer pool.
That's right. Back to back to back to back weeks of playing your games. These are your games, the games that you want us to play. You can find out more information or find out how you can be a part by visiting us at patreon.com/NGP podcast. Welcome to New Game Plus. This is a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name is Kenny.
Hey, I'm Nolan.
And this is episode 483, and it is a producer poll!
Hey.
Question of the week. What is a top-rated game that you were disappointed by?
So this will be I'll get some hate for this, and it's fine. Especially because the sequel is literally months away, maybe 8 months away. Ghost of Tsushima. I understand. What, y'all are confused by that?
Surprising? No, just surprising coming from you. I didn't know you had played that much, and also I just thought you would have said, like, Breath of the Wild or something super popular that you just don't care for as much as everyone else.
Yeah.
That one's kind of out of left field for me.
I know.
And I'm glad you went with it. For me, it's one, I don't remember that you played this game. Two, if you did not give it enough time. And then three, what? I have it on my short list, like, of games that I've got to play.
I did play it. I mentioned it to you briefly, and at the start, you might remember I was praising it and was like, this game is beautiful, it's amazing, the story's great. I did get through the game. I played it on PS5. It didn't do anything for me. I like the story, and like honestly,
Wow.
I'm not telling people not to play it. I'm a weird one. I know that game is very, very loved, and I do think it's worth playing because the story's good. But I really, really dislike the gameplay loop. The combat is fine, but it is that open world. It's like it's like too open world for me. Like I wish all of that was cut out and it was episodic and it was stage based versus me having to go from here to here and do all these like side things. The world's very accurate and awesome, but like it's one that I'm actually like not hyped for Ghost of Yotai.
Ooh. But
It might be better though.
Story's
good.
great?
The story's
good. Is it anything like Sekiro, or am I culturally insensitive?
It's kind of like Sekiro, but it's not as difficult as Sekiro, and like the combat is fundamentally different than Sekiro.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, sorry.
Good answer. Unexpected answer.
Also, yeah, Breath of the Wild's trash.
Hey, let me use that as my segue. I've got Tears of the Kingdom is one of mine. I loved Breath of the Wild. It was great. It doesn't, I don't know, age in my memory as well as maybe some other games do. Tears of the Kingdom, I'm not saying it's a bad game, and I think there's a lot to be loved there for a lot of people. It was just a disappointment for me because I didn't want copy paste with a mechanic that I didn't want, with an added new mechanic that I didn't want. But I know there's a lot to be loved there for different people. I also put Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on here, and I also
you're insane for that one.
Well, the question is about disappointment, and so it shouldn't surprise anyone that I was disappointed by it. There will be more conversation about that to be had later. Find us on patreon.com or Google. And then I put, just because I wanted something a little bit different, It Takes Two.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know you played that.
I'm surprised you were let down by that.
My wife and I tried.
Yeah.
And
you didn't make it very far? Is she just bad? Was she the problem?
I would never say
toxic.
that, especially when I could be heard. But we made it very far. I think one of my main complaints is that game is entirely too long, especially for what it's trying to be, a game that you play with like your significant other. You don't have to do that, but that's kind of even the narrative and the characters and stuff like that. There was some charm there, but it was way too long. The story actually wasn't that good. I just think it won Game of the Year that it came out. That's why I'm kind of
it was
like,
huge. Yeah,
that's I just think it got the hype because it was a different kind of game than what were making at the time.
Sure,
but I don't
I was going to give you a hard time for it because I don't think I would have said I was disappointed by it. My wife and I played through it as well. We had a great time.
Oh wow,
we didn't finish it.
That.
Oh, you didn't finish? It's super
We
long.
didn't finish it.
It's crazy.
So like.
Long. But also, I do think that your wife has some more hand-eye coordination than other wives.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say than Kenny, but also true.
That also.
Both of those
Also
things are
true.
probably
She
true.
might be the better gamer. Yeah. All right, Kenny. Top-rated game that you were disappointed by.
So I don't know. I've talked you through my
Chess.
experience with this game. It's the first thing that came to mind. So it feels like a little bit of a cop-out. So I'll give you a couple other answers. But maybe Baldur's Gate 3. I didn't get into it deep enough to truly be disappointed. I'm more disappointed with myself.
You got through character creation.
He did.
Yeah,
it
like
get through
seven,
character
like seven different times. I couldn't. I kept trying.
Kenny,
I
the
really
way-
wanted
the-
to make that game work.
The way that if you just would get past the wall, the way that it would be the best game of your life.
I know.
Like
I
just
know.
stick.
That's
with
why I'm
it
saying I
until
need
that
to. I need to
happens.
remedy this.
I'll play it
because I
with
don't
you.
think the game itself.
That would be crazy.
Okay.
Y'all would love it,
Okay. I didn't know it was multiplayer. It is.
brother.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know anything
it's-
about the game because I started it 18 times and couldn't get into it.
We could
so
all
I'm
play the
disappointed.
game through together on our own characters.
I'm disappointed by myself on
Yeah.
that game, not so much the game. Some other popular ones. These are ones I picked up because they're well loved in a genre I love, expected to like them, and bounced off of them for different reasons. But I think it was close enough to the question you asked for me to answer. Binding of Isaac didn't do it for me.
Dude, that game
well loved
rules.
game. I know everyone loves that game. Couldn't get into it. And Enter the Gungeon. Similar, both.
Yeah.
Again, a genre I like. I think that one was a little bit more bullet
hell,
hellish than
for
I
sure.
expected.
Yeah.
I was expecting more just sort of general, roguelike, and it just was too. I think Dustin would love that game if he hasn't played it.
I think Dustin would love it.
Because he loves the bullet hell vibe when it's done well, and loves some of that like strategy. That would be one that we could play together, and we could like guide him, and
Yeah.
I would not have to do the physical dodging of things,
Like
and-
Vampire Survivors or something.
like
Yeah.
Vampire Survivors.
yeah,
Yeah,
you would
like
like it a lot.
cooperatively, even though you were playing it, we'd just make like decisions for you. That'd be a fun one. But yeah, I was disappointed in both of those, even though I expected to like them. So I don't know.
I think those are great answers. All the way around.
Which is surprising. We're normally really bad at that.
Right, we're
We
really
give
bad
the
at this.
same answers to everything.
And what I also really like about the question and answers is that we're not saying, I don't think any of us, for the most part, are saying these games are bad. It's just for us,
Definitely not
we were
saying that.
disappointed because we were expecting something else or thought it would be something else or thought our reaction
Yeah.
would be differently. But for us, these games just didn't have the chops and came out kind of a ham-fisted mess. Like in our retro game of the week,
No, you need the oink.
Tomba.
Overview.
Tomba came out in the year 1997. It does have an exclamation mark or point
Yeah.
at the end.
Yeah, I kind of need you
You
to
didn't-
do that again.
Yeah, you didn't say it like it's got an exclamation.
I don't
mark.
want to peek the microphone, and I
So
Peek-
lean way back. Just
Peek
talk
me,
like
though.
this.
I want you to peek me by saying it.
Tomba.
I'm peaked.
Better.
Yeah, but that
Yeah.
had more A's. Had more A's is crazy. It is
Literate.
on Wikipedia at least an action adventure platform video game. I think that's probably a fair delineation, but I do not think that explains everything.
It does
No.
not. I feel like half of this episode is going to be us talking
Yeah.
about what this game is,
Which is always
And
riveting.
It is, but like
Can skip all that.
we could, or I could just give you my summary of what it is because it took me a long time to define it, and
Yeah.
it's
Let's
terrible.
skip it.
Okay, yeah, let's just skip it.
Yeah, let's keep that to yourself.
Yeah, they'll be able to read it in the show notes on Monday. So
Yeah, it's there for those of you who
no,
wanna know.
Kenny, turn your eyes to the other screen and read it for us.
Okay, this is a 100-year-old platforming puzzle adventure action game with Oonga Boonga RPG elements, along with point-and-click soul and an item collecting fetish.
It's crazy.
Bad.
Should
How
we-
accurate it was?
No.
Should we update the Wikipedia with that?
We should.
Don't
Is
they,
that-
Can't you do that? Like I just clicked
I
edit.
don't
I just
think it
clicked
would
edit.
stick.
Sure.
Yeah.
And, I mean, well,
Like,
no,
I can just mess
we're
with this.
professionals. You can just like link to our podcast. We
Yeah.
prove it, and then we say it, and that's how truth is created.
Oh wow.
Easy.
That's good.
Wow. Truth social.
Some of that's crazy of what you said. Some of it's culturally insensitive to our cave dwelling
It is.
ancestors. But
Correct.
some of it's not incorrect. I want to have this conversation quickly and move on. I know it's trite and annoying, but we all agree that this is not a Metroidvania, although it is on the Wikipedia
Correct.
page, and some people in Discord have commented this week about that.
I'm not mad
why
about
is
it.
this? Wow.
I understand why people would say that
Okay, but why is this not a Metroidvania? We all agree.
because it's not.
Okay.
So
That's a-
specific things. Progression gates based on skill abilities. Sort of exists here, but not really.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
that
it's
to
they
me is
reskinned it as something else. It's more like well, I mean it's the events. It's not like
Yeah.
oh I can turn it to a ball now to get past this wall.
right. It's more like quest driven. They call this the event system. This is just quests.
Yeah.
Like games have done this before. It's not as novel as
And that's
they
where you're
tried
getting
to make
the
it sound.
RPG thing, Kenny, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That and some character upgrade elements and some items that improve what you can do, which is more maybe a little bit more action game. I wasn't trying to say this is an RPG. I had all of that wording because it's sort of so many things kind of all mixed into one.
I do. The final thing I'll say about the genre conversation is I do think action adventure is the most accurate staple to put on this game out of all the things that have been called. This game has been called.
Agreed.
And maybe more than like what gets listed as action adventure in other games. Like this is
Right.
an action adventure game in so
Yeah.
many ways.
Yep.
It's a 2D side scroller built around a non-linear event system. We'll talk about that more extensively in the gameplay, but basically you are receiving quests, and you've got a quest log even, which I love, an event log, and you are going through the game completing them. Some of them are side quests, some of them are kind of main quests. You don't have to complete all of them. I believe there's like 130 total, something like that in the game. Again, you certainly don't have to do all of them. Some of them are missable, but you are completing quests while you're platforming, while you're defeating enemies. And an interesting thing here, especially I thought that you might enjoy, Nolan, and you might have seen that in preparation this week, but this was developed by a team. It's developed by Whoopee Camp, which we probably don't know about, and published by Whoopee Camp in Japan, at least, Sony Computer Entertainment worldwide. But the development team was led by Takuro Fujiwara, who you might know from Capcom. He had his hand in the development or producing of games like Ghosts and Goblins, Bionic Commando, and have you heard of Mega Man and Resident Evil?
Yeah. Legend, for sure. I didn't know that. I mean, I've known about this game, but I didn't know that that guy was behind it, but that's a good start when pulling up this game.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I think they actually credit Fujiwara as the creator of Resident Evil. Like, he's the one that came up with the idea based on another game.
Wow.
And
See,
so,
I didn't know that.
like Legend that
Yeah,
started
for
his own company, I believe, and from there, at least Tomba was one of the products from that.
Is this game's 2.5D technically?
I
I always get
Sort
confused.
of. It's hard to explain. It's not hard to explain. It's
2D. It's 2D. It just
yeah.
in
but
the
graphics
towns.
are like 3-dimensional. You're just stuck on a 2D plane.
I think it's
I mean,
2.5D.
It's certainly 2D. I know you're not even, this is not even what you're referring to, but in the towns it's isometric, so it's got that unique retro overhead kind of look.
I'm not talking about that though.
Yeah, I know you're not. But in the main areas, and maybe, I don't know, are you envisioning in particular like the Haunted Mansion? Because that one is very 2.5D, but the others are very 2D. You just can move between the foreground and the background.
Right,
yeah.
but the whole model like moves with you,
and
like
some
it's not just flat. There's depth. Like you got a whole house, and you're like here, and then you move back, and I don't know. It's just it literally confused me.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say 2.5. Maybe it
People
is.
can
Maybe
correct us if we're wrong.
Yeah. So we're not experts. At some point in my notes, I said it's faux 3D. At another place, I said it's 2.5D. At another place, I said it's 3D stuck on a plane. So I don't know what I'm talking about, but it's a unique implementation of like depth, but played on a 2-dimensional, platforming dimension.
I think we can all agree it is more than 1D and it's less than 4D.
Less than
100%.
Less than 5.
Just to be safe.
Yeah, there might be some sort of like 4D level like chess moves.
I put my
on
life
if you play
on
this
that,
game
actually.
right.
Nolan's one-upping himself over and over again. The story here. Long ago, the islands have been taken over by the 7 evil pigs. By the way, this is a basic story. You get this in most games. One day, many years later, a young boy named Tomba has his bracelet stolen by a group of feral pigs, and that begins Tomba's numerous quests to reclaim his bracelet, and in doing so, maybe reclaim his homeland while he's at it. This game is a producer pool, and it was submitted by the one and only Psycho Mantis.
Quick reminder that the New Game Plus podcast is entirely supported by your contributions on Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you can support your favorite retro gaming podcast and also get really cool perks like early access first plays, 2 entries into Patreon pools, unedited episodes. All kinds of cool stuff is on there. If you want to check it out, all you've got to do is head on over to patreon.com/NGP podcasts. We so appreciate your support.
Gameplay.
Where do we start here? Because there's just so many things to talk about. Like, this game has a lot of stuff going on, and you first boot up the game and it looks kind of unique. You can tell it is going to be kind of unique, and then you jump and you do this weird jump animation where you're like, I don't know, feral attacking the sky, and then you realize that you can jump on and bite. You're biting them, right? Enemies as like a primary world interaction?
As the only world interaction?
Yeah.
Well, okay, where to start? It's a platformer. So you are going to the right, at least at first, and jumping on things. And I'm glad you bring up the bite and everything. Tomba's a little wild jungle boy or like caveman boy, and they stick to that so faithfully that so his jump is a big old belly flop kind of thing. You jump on enemies like you do in most platformers.
It's a pounce.
It's a pounce for sure. And then you bite them and pick up things and throw them, and he's making like these cute little like wild boy noises. You guys don't know about the wild thornberries, do you?
Of course we do.
Okay.
I don't know about cute.
Yeah,
cute
him.
is what I was gonna take umbrage with. But
You don't think he's cute?
Oh, the character's cute. The character's cute. You said the noises. I got a little frustrated with some of the sound effects. We'll have that conversation later.
They're faithful to this character that they created, and you're platforming. That's where we start, I think.
I think it's good. You're platforming, so that means you're jumping over obstacles. You're jumping on enemies. You are swinging from poles. You are climbing up trees. You are avoiding pits that have spikes in them. You're avoiding certain enemies that you can't jump on.
Yeah. We should stop and explain that, because this climbing element is really unique. It's the thing that makes the platforming piece of it feel different than probably any other platformer we've played. It's got depth to it, almost like you would have in like a multi-lane sort of brawler or something. Not exactly the same. In fact, that's a terrible description, so disregard that I said that. But you can interact with the world around you and like climb not just on your side to side plane, though you can, like in a line that you're in, like jump and get on a wall and climb it, but you can also like move further back, like on the Z axis, and like climb up a wall, and then jump forward into another. I did a terrible job explaining it. Somebody enlighten our audience, because what?
It's a 2.5D game.
I don't know about that, but in most stages, there's a foreground and a background. You typically start on the foreground, and on some walls, you can hold up and then press the jump button X, and Tomba will jump from the foreground where you've been to the background wall and climb up it, and then you will be in the background. So then when you run left and right in the same stage that you've been in, you are not coming into contact with the foreground enemies or objects anymore. You're coming into contact with the background enemies and objects. The camera shifts a little bit, so it's clear that this is what is happening, and although it's always going to be a little bit muddy and confusing, probably especially at first, trying to make sense of this, because this is not normative. It just made me remember, and I think there's some correlation here, but also Tomba takes it to the next level. In Super Mario 3, is that the game where the Mario game where you can on one of the earliest stages, you can hold down on one of the colored blocks and then you drop down into the background and you can get to some secret levels that way. It's similar in that there's a foreground
sort of similar vibe. Yeah, it's a stretch.
Here, there's a lot more going on in the background, in the foreground. Like, for example, the first item or ability or whatever, I'll call it item, that you need in the game to be able to move into the next area is a tornado wind-like ability that is in the mailbox on the first screen that you're in, but in the background. So if you're playing this for the first time, you're not going to know that you're right next to it. You're probably going to make it to the end of the stage before you find out you have to go back to the beginning of the stage, but in the background to get that item.
And there's a lot of that forward and backward gameplay kind of baked in here because you're doing quests. Where, sometimes we think platformer and you think typical, kind of right to left, fight a boss, move on to the next one, whatever else. This is a little bit more, I won't say open world, but almost
adventure.
Kind of open world. Adventure, exactly. Because you're moving around these levels and you're exploring them, you're finding hidden elements, you're solving light puzzling, you're working in the background and the foreground, you're collecting items that may or may not be important, sometimes lots of them, sometimes as part of a quest, sometimes as not. It's just, there's a lot going on, and play with that depth of field, giving you hidden things and things behind things and things in front of things, and like that's what this game does is use this mechanic in a lot of creative ways to kind of give you a bigger world to explore than you would picture with a normal platform.
Yeah, that last part right there is what is cool, is that the depth thing that you were trying to explain. Did make these areas feel larger, because and like kind of feel like secrets when you found them, because a lot of the events or a lot of the quests that you get are like find some like a character or something like that, so you have to actually explore. Yeah. And that sense of exploration, I felt that more than I would feel on any other platformer, even a Metroidvania, just because you're confined to this area and there is actually a lot to discover in these zones, and I like the exploration aspect of this game and did not expect it to be so like focused on. But the progression being tied to those quests is also super unique, because that is how you go further in the game is you complete more of these events and then collect adventure points. Or whatever.
I think it's probably adventure points. Yeah, maybe.
Dustin, I thought that like, hey, you have to progress by figuring out this sort of core mechanic was a really wise thing to do. I like the sort of game wall when it's explained, and I think or discoverable, not like as a sort of tutorial, is a great way to like teach you a game. like, hey, you've got a limited space, you can't get too lost here, and if you want to move on, you're gonna have to figure out how to go back. The game also did give you a little bit of just like actual raw advice. There's signposts scattered throughout the game, and so some things sort of teach you some core mechanics just by having you read about how it works and having it described to you. But other parts, it sort of more organically forces you to learn, and that felt nice for a game that doesn't play like other games. You kind of need to figure it out as you go, and I never felt lost or like I couldn't do that, even though this game is fairly novel.
Let me kind of paint the picture of the event setup. So you can be given events traditionally. So you come across an NPC, you talk to them, and they're like, I need you to do this for me. Text will pop up on the screen with an amount of AP that you're going to get, I think, if you accomplish that task or something like that. And then you've got an event log. You can press select, go to events, and you can view each of these events, and it will give you a little bit of a sentence that might give you a little bit more context for, or a reminder at least, of what you're trying to do there. Or you can come across events naturally in the world. So, like, for example, there was a small frog that was hopping around on the first stage, and if you jump on it and bite it and then do a flip with it, which is just the next move, the frog gets on your back, and you're given an event that is called Take Me Home. And if you look at the event, basically you have to rescue the frog by taking it back to the old pond without taking damage. You take damage, the frog starts hopping again, so you have to take it back to the pond. If you do so, you get AP. That's a side quest. It doesn't do anything for you, or it doesn't afford anything other than AP. It gives you AP, but like you don't get an item from it. You don't necessarily get anything from it, but you've got these.
There's some reward there. I think that one specifically, like you get a little bit of stat boost, which is where, again, some of those almost sort of RPG-ish elements come in. I think so. I think that's maybe a vitality or something else. You get some kind of reward from that I was like, oh, that was nicer than I expected.
There's actually a lot of events that you will miss. You can go through the game without doing a lot of them. Which I find interesting, because we probably all had different, like our progression and gameplay this week all look different, I'm sure. Which is another unique thing to a platformer, to like a game like this.
You can tackle these in different orders, so it's a little bit non-linear as well. You generally have like areas, and you're going to do sort of the chunk of all the work in one area, and then sort of move to the next.
The chunk, but so then you're going back and revisiting.
Absolutely.
There's no overworld map, so you are having to like walk back through all of these, which kind of feels bad. You're given some charity wings early on, but they're few in number, that allow you to do a quick teleport to certain areas that you've been to before. Later in the game, you actually get the dog Baron, and he becomes your permanent fast travel. So there are like fast travel to areas, because you're going to be doing, like you said, Kenny, the chunk of the quests, probably your first time through, but it is certainly set up for revisiting certain areas.
Yep, especially if you're trying to do a full, complete, do all of the things sort of playthrough. Right. You're going to have to go back and unlock things that later that when you were first there you couldn't do. You're gonna see that, and that's even a little bit frustrating. Like, oh, here's a chest, I can't get to it yet, I can't, like, what's that about? But really it's just sort of like building this world and this adventure, and sort of gives you a reason to do some of that forward and backtracking, which again sometimes feels a little obnoxious, but I didn't hate it too much here. I felt like it was just exploring the world and interacting and doing these these events. It's just quests.
Your main task, however, is to travel to new areas, get the evil. This is going to come out of left field, so just prepare yourself. Get the evil pig bag from each region, and then go and find the evil pig in said region.
Sure. And how else are you going to deal with an evil pig if you don't have an evil pig bag?
You don't have an evil pig bag.
What do they have against pigs?
Well, the pigs came in and ruined their land.
Yeah, they stole his jewelry, his grandpa's jewelry. That's sentimental value. Nolan has no heart. Nolan just has no heart.
Pigs matter too, Pigs got to live somewhere.
Sure, but they don't need to take people's land.
I didn't think about it that way.
So you do that 7 times, rinse and repeat. But it's going to take you a while. In fact, you might play a dozen hours without even finding the first evil pig, because there are just tons of areas, tons of quests, and the first evil pig doesn't come for a while. I'm sure with a speed run you can get there pretty quickly, but if you're just like going through and trying to complete quests as they come across, it's going to take you a little while.
You get distracted a lot playing this game. I don't know if you guys experienced that, but like you'll come across something new. You'll be in the middle of something else will happen. You'll be like, well, okay, I guess I got to do this now. And I think that's by design. I think they were pretty clever about how they just, it's a very chaotic experience, honestly. Like there's just a lot going on. But it's a lot of fun things to do. And I think Kenny, you mentioned there's some light puzzling. This game has a lot more stage interactables than I was expecting. When I was playing through the game, I was like, whoa, like, and they do a really good job of making it obvious that something is like movable or interactable. There's a section, I think in the second area, where you like have to move a barrel across some bridges, and like you can grab and swing on all kinds of things. And I just thought that was really cool and really clever, and made it so that again, exploring these stages felt meaningful.
And not only are there like a lot of items and things to interact with on the stage, like you actually get a lot of upgradable items to your character. So since he's only wearing shorts, those are the only like wearable things that you get, I think, for the most part. But you've got like dash shorts that help you to walk faster, which is much needed because you start off pretty slow. But it's not a bad thing to get used to moving around in the world. But you get dash pants, you get like jump pants later, jump shorts. Animal run is super nice because that's an even better dash. And then you've got different weapons. So you start with the blackjack. I think you start with a spike ball and chain.
Flail.
Later you get
you get a boomerang,
boomerangs and upgrades to that. You get a grapple, hammers later in the game. So there's that, and then we just kind of like brushed over, and there's probably not much to talk about here, but I just want to remind you that there are also stats like to your character, and defeating certain enemies, I think, is how this works. Like certain colored enemies, like red enemies or blue enemies or green enemies, that provides upgrade points to that colored stat. It's something
that kind of went over my head. Like I didn't look too much into it.
They don't really explain it.
Yeah, it just is there. And I guess naturally you'll get stronger as you play, but I don't know.
You're also upgrading your life bar.
Yeah, that's the thing that's most obvious.
But then you can get additional hits as well. You're collecting extra lives, both by finding literal 1-ups, but also by completing quests, as well as by just like killing pigs. You can kind of just like farm them. You kill enough of them and you get another character. There's tons and tons of stuff. What was crazy to me was, I don't know if you caught this, it was sort of a subtle implication at one point, but is the lore accurate way, since you were running around virtually naked? I mean, that would be the real accurate version
naked.
Of like a feral child, but that wouldn't fly. Apparently you're storing all of these items that you're collecting in your stomach.
Oh yeah, you swallow it, huh?
Right.
You swallow it.
I forgot, yeah.
And then like spit it up when you need it. It just implies that at one point, but like that's how they're like, oh yeah, you got an inventory. You're just eating this stuff.
Which you're going to have a lot of things
character.
in your inventory. Like a lot of crazy things. Like at one point I looked in and I had a lunchbox, a baby pig, and a slice of cheese.
Wooden boomerang, key.
Yeah. And they all have their unique purpose. Like there's all something that the game wants you to do with them or use them in some kind of way.
Yeah, honestly, on that point, it kind of reminded me of the classic like Zelda trade sequence. You get an item, trade for another, trade for another, trade for another. Like it kind of felt like that, and I really enjoyed that. I didn't know I didn't put it together that he was storing them in his stomach, but it's on brand for the character.
When I said this game has a point and click soul.
Yeah, what was
That's what I was sort of talking about. Is these like items that you like use this item to then go get like another item that makes sense, and then like that item somebody else is looking for somewhere over here, it's sort of a puzzle, and there's like progression, but it kind of is how those types of games sort of do that. It's not exactly, you are not pointing and clicking, but there is a sort of vibe to it.
It's the logic system.
A logic, exactly. You're thinking, and like these things sort of make sense, and when you find them, you're like, oh, that's that thing that like happened way back like 3 levels ago. And so it feels like that, even though it's not that game at all. This game just did whatever it wanted, and
it did, actually.
Sounds chaotic, but it kind of works
Well, but it is chaotic.
It's very chaotic. Oh, this game is absolutely unhinged, but like it's cohesive and it like knows its identity as such. And so I don't know. It's a unique one.
Aged.
This game did not sell well at release, from what I understand. And it's one of those that has been revisited as a hidden gem and maybe like would have a cult following. And it kind of surprises me, having never played it and playing it in 2025. This kind of feels like a standout on the PlayStation. And I would attribute it to a few things, but the number one thing I think is just how the graphical art style that they went with, and I don't even just mean like the pixel art and all that. I'm talking about the camera shifts. Kenny is talking about the camera shifts to like the depth of this game, because there is a depth to the game and it has a purpose. Like you need to explore that part of the stage, but like in the way the camera follows you through these platformers, it doesn't feel so flat. But I don't know. I guess maybe the character or like the theme of the game didn't click with people when it came out. I'm not sure. I feel like this would have sold well.
It's so different of a game, you know?
It
and
is.
It's during the time early enough of rentals. I would imagine it was heavily rented and very confusing for a lot of gamers, and so that they just didn't buy it. And then maybe being also from Whoopee Camp. Is this Whoopee Camp's first? They don't even have a Wikipedia. Is it their first game? I also wonder if because like then it's not an established developing company.
Sure.
Yeah, from
like
titles
people
you
probably
don't know.
didn't recognize the director's name necessarily.
Oh yeah, sure. Especially over in the States or worldwide.
No,
at
yeah,
least.
yeah, exactly.
Even the vibe of it, like you look at the art and the character and the picture, you're not really sure what this game's going to bring. You even watch the opening cutscene and you're like, well, is this game like almost a weird anime? Like there's these kind of elaborate storytelling that goes on, and then you're dropped into this kind of different experience. It doesn't surprise me when you say all of that. I know it probably could have been popular. I think you're right, Nolan. Like it certainly should have. But when it wasn't, for all of those various reasons, doesn't surprise me that this one picked up a little bit of a cult following.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
It feels like one of those games that people are like, they think they're more elite than you, or their taste is better than you because they're like, you don't know about Tomba.
Yeah, I grew up playing this game, and so like now I'm posh.
Just to color it just a little bit more, Whoopee Camp developed 3 games. They developed Tomba, Tomba 2, The Evil Swine Return, and Tomba Remastered.
Okay, so
they live
and breathe Tomba.
So
yeah,
that's got to be some of this, right? No one knew the developer. The game is so different than everything else. I think that probably played into it.
Good branding though, like the package I think is just enticing.
That cover art we all knew, even if we've never played the game before.
That's why I know the games, because it's got a great logo and the box art.
The character's fun.
Yeah,
he's goofy and two, for the age of this game, it looks pretty good. There's not many games that are 100 years old that look as good as this one.
It looks great.
Well, I'll also say that's just like the normal gameplay. What are these full cartoon FMVs on the PlayStation in 1997? This is the same year as My Beloved, and the cutscenes did not look like full anime.
Well,
right.
I mean, I'm not like so impressed by a full FMV because it's a disc, and they were able to just slap on like an anime cartoon on it. But like, yeah, that is early, and it looked great, and they hit you with it out the like in your first play. You're like, what am I looking at? It looks really good, but dude, I think in game also looks awesome. Like, there's a lot going on. We said it's chaotic in gameplay. It's chaotic in presentation too. Like the characters, all kinds of stuff on the stage, a lot in the background, and then a lot in the middle ground because of that 2.5 part. But they nail it because they blur the parts that they don't want you to really focus on, and they keep the things that are interactable and important on the foreground. And the art style is great.
No, it looks good. It's kind of weird. Like, there's some kind of simple textures in some places where they're trying to play with things. And so, I don't know. I don't feel like it's a perfect looking game, but I feel like the look matches the vibe of the game, which I think is what's most important.
I was going to say, giving Tomba the garish, hot pink hair is perfect because that is just indicative of the experience you're about to have.
Yeah.
even the humor and the storytelling
Oh, yeah.
also kind of leans into this like absolutely wild child, like chaotic what is going on vibe.
The load screen is like a bunch of pigs like dancing, like. Yeah,
and you will see it often. Yeah, we should talk about the fact
Guys,
there's too many of those.
And not
it's
only that,
obnoxious.
I don't know which version you played, but in the worldwide release, they were actually applauded for shortening the length of the cutscenes, because in the original version, but even in the re-release, these cutscenes are not only numerous, they are lengthy. You are sitting there for a long time, even for PlayStation in 1997.
Yeah. It did bother me a little bit, but like, I guess I have a lot of grace for that because it's PlayStation and because it's in the game. Like, it's cool that they've included those things, but I did notice, like, I was like, the world's big and it's thriving, but I am having to go through a lot of transition screens.
I did in the first play. I was like, on the first cutscene, I was like, product of its time. You hate to see him, and then I paused and I was like, but do you? They're kind of.
Do you?
They're kind of charming. Like,
Yeah.
some of them are.
Yeah.
During the time, some developers made the use of them. So you got tips and hints, or you got a cool little graphic going on. Now, way too numerous, way too lengthy. I still stand on that, but there's something charming about them.
Yeah, for sure.
What was less charming here, since we generally like the looks, I wasn't a huge fan of how this game handled its sound. Generally, like across the board, music was fine, sort of matched the style of the game, a little bit repetitive, and one or two of the tracks kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but also they were like heavy-handed with the sound effects, and even though some of them were like, Nolan, you said cute earlier, I think that's fine, some of them fit the character. You're hearing these sound effects, the noises he's making a lot, like it's very over and over again. And so I don't know, I thought the look of this game was pretty good. I was less impressed with how it sounded.
Dang.
The composer also worked for Capcom, so probably came over but did a lot of the games that we played. So like Ghosts and Goblins, Bionic Commando, Willow, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, Mega Man 3 helped with that one. Polestar, Streets of Rage 4.
So knows what they're doing, 100%.
Knows what they're doing.
Sure. But
And
I don't disagree with you, Kenny. I mean, the theming of it is not delightful to listen to, but it does fit.
Yeah.
I wasn't offended at all by
it. Does.
By it. I don't know. Like, I'm not blown away by it. It's not like, okay, I can tell this composer's Mega Man 3 composer or helped with it, and it's on that level. But I'm definitely not offended by.
Agreed. I just thought it was less good than some of the other novel elements of the game that are like, hey, these are worth like giving credit to. It was just like, it was fine.
Yeah.
We said although it might not have sold super well, which I think that's correct, Nolan. It did sell enough for Whoopee Camp to make a sequel in Tomba 2, The Evil Swine Return. And I mentioned, but there was an enhanced version, a re-release re-released in 2011, and then in 2024, an enhanced version for the Nintendo Switch, the PlayStation 5, and the PC.
Yeah, like Fujiwara was like, hey, we're doing this himself. And I don't know how it's improved, but it's...
I mean, obviously graphically and sonically, but I think they probably improved some of the gameplay systems as well.
Lowered
maybe a more
the
robust
load times.
Event log. I would imagine there's not load screens.
Yeah.
But would probably be a well-warranted remake or re-release, because there are some aging factors there, some of the ones that we mentioned already, and if you're able to like smooth over those and maybe even make the foreign type of gameplay a little bit more user-friendly up front, that could be a really good thing.
Yeah, I agree.
And then if you want a copy for your PlayStation, so we're talking about the case and the disc and everything like that, and the manual, which is pretty good, by the way. I didn't mention, but the manual has a few things in there, and then because it's such a confusing type of game style, it actually walks you through an example of how to work through the event system using the first tornado thing. So it kind of actually guides you through that first necessary event.
Yeah, that's kind.
$57 loose, $105 complete in box, and $500 new.
Whew. 500's up there.
Cult classic.
Cult classic for sure.
Final thoughts.
At the end of each and every one of our episodes, we determine whether or not the game gets our vote for New Game Plus status. That's our general thumbs up or thumbs down. It does require 2/3 of the vote to swing one way or the other. I'll begin by saying there's nothing quite like this game. We referenced a number of games as we talked about this, trying to make some kind of connection, and there are connections to be made, but this game is unique. It's probably why it didn't sell as well as they would have liked. But it's also the reason why there's a cult following still today. I don't think everyone is going to absolutely love it. I think it's one of those games probably that are a subset of people's like favorite retro game because it's got that quirky, weird charm. But I easily say that there is enough uniqueness here and fun to be had that it is a must experience for everybody. Again, it's not going to be one that that a lot of people or most people like stick to and follow through all the way. But I've talked about on the podcast before on adventure games, give me a quest log and we're moving in the right direction. And this is a 1997 quest log that is such a different kind of game. It is not perfect. Some of the handling is weird and some of the choices are odd. But it's a charming little bugger. I'm just going to leave it at that. And I do give it my vote for New Game Plus status. It's a weird one, though.
Nolan, where'd you land?
I, again, had heard of the game's name, and that's it. I don't know reputation. I didn't know, like, what you do in it. I didn't even know it was, like, a platformer setup. So it was a raw experience playing the game for me this week. And that's the best possible setup I could have had to it. Because I didn't go, oh, okay, this is going to be a platformer, and then I have some expectations. Or, oh, this is going to be an action-adventure game, and have some expectations. It's exactly what Dustin said. It's such a different, unique experience that I got to enjoy it for that. And, I mean, easily, I give this NGP because it is that. I want to reiterate that I think they did such a good job with stage design here that it feels sprawling and very distinct. Like I'm sure there's reused assets, there always are, but each area felt purposeful and specific and had a point to it. And it's a simple world. It's about evil pigs and you're a caveman, but like, it's just fun to explore that world. And I think it's a must play I think it's a must play PlayStation 1 game for sure. I don't say that about like a lot of games, but like, dude, yeah, it's awesome. So NGP.
Well, that's fun. I have a feeling I know where this is going. Kenny, go ahead and round it off.
Yeah, I'll just let you know it's getting NGP from me too. Not a super surprise. I will say this game is unhinged. And it is. It sometimes drove me crazy, but it's unique. There were lots of elements that felt really rewarding, and the many oddities just made it even more endearing. So even though it's a what even is happening right now kind of title, it's absolutely one I think people ought to go and check out. A unique product of its era, not like anything else, and it was fun and refreshing and had me scratching my head, and I enjoyed myself overall. So, yeah.
It just made me sad because it's not a game that could be made today, because it's not a game that is going to be commercially successful. It's not a game that's like a copy paste. It's not a game that is going to market well, but it is a game that has a unique identity, that is a product of love and is testing the systems, trying something new. That's so beautiful, and it's not in a 2025.
An indie game before indie games were a thing.
Yeah. I mean, the indie space, I'm not saying that there are no games like that today, but yeah, it hurts.
Not in the mainstream, there's not.
Which I am a little bit surprised that this game, from all three of us, got New Game Plus status, which means that Tomba is New Game Plus certified. But what did you think? On our new YouTube poll, 29% agreed with us, saying yes, it's worth playing today. 3% said no, go play something else. And an unsurprising maybe, 68% have never played it before.
Oh, that's high. I would have expected a lot more people to have played it.
Cult classic?
Yeah, and wasn't like super big in its day. You know,
Right.
I think it's still fairly off the radar.
Yeah.
But hey, put it on your radar and check it out. If you didn't play along with us this week, go do it anyways. Just do yourself a favor.
Which, Kenny, many people from our community did play along with this week. Conan said, "My nostalgia is telling me yes, but the nonsense is telling me no."
What? Oh,
The
that's all they
nonsense
said?
is half of
What?
what made me say yes.
Conan.
Wait, I feel like also nostalgia would be enough to like continue to love it. You know, like.
Conan always does like single one-liners or something for commentary, so I
appreciate that.
often don't include them. Okay.
I
But
appreciate the
this one-
brevity too.
This
Yeah,
one had some content.
it's a good summary.
Garlisle said, Tomba is goofy, colorful, and genuinely inventive with its unusual structure and ideas. It reminds me of Mischief Makers, which is to say I'm
Me
all
too.
for it.
Me too. I agree.
Unfortunately, I don't find it fun to play. It's full of easily missable bits. It's
Oh, I'm
sometimes hard to
so mad.
parse where its multi-layered physics work, and its controls feel very weird. I think I'm fine appreciating this one at a distance.
You know, I can see a lot of people having that exact same experience too.
I think it's a fair
It's
reaction.
a very
Yeah.
it is.
If you'd
but,
like to, if you'd like to see more with that experience, visit our commentary channel, and you'll find a plethora
Oh my
of people
God.
that.
Okay.
Wow, we were the outliers.
I
This
think
week?
we're minority this week, guys.
Okay.
Weird.
Shane said, I appreciated the uniqueness of the 2.5D in Tomba. I have some
Thank you.
memories playing it as a kid, but don't think I ever even managed to get to the old man. So coming back to it when I'm older, there's definitely some fun here. Not sure if I'll keep playing it or not yet. A lot of other games going, but probably would if there was less. Feel it's a solid recommend for someone looking for a 2D platformer that's a bit different. NGP for me. So there's
Okay.
one.
Still got NGP. Nice.
Yeah.
And then Psychomantis, who submitted the game,
Yeah, let's hear
said,
it.
my first time getting a game picked and my first time writing a commentary. I played
Aw.
platformers a lot as a child as I was introduced to them by my mother. I come from a family of gamers, even my grandfather, rest in peace. I first discovered this game on a demo disc as a child out of a gaming magazine. This is my first time fully revisiting it in nearly 20 years. Tomba is somehow both a great snapshot of platform games of its era and somehow still so unique. I still find myself charmed by the art style that I loved as a child, the music, and the odd characters. Some may not enjoy the swing controls, easy to miss objectives or items, or its odd humor. However, maybe it's due to the many hours I spent replaying the demo and the game when I was younger. I had very little difficulty picking the game back up. TLDR, it's not a perfect game, but I think it's a must play if you are a fan of platformers and are looking for something a bit more obscure. NGP from me.
Remember those demo discs?
Dude,
Demos used to be pretty hype.
imagine having this as a demo disc. You'd be like,
Yeah.
what is this?
I'd be
The
like, I gotta get
90s
this.
The 90s were just special.
It's nostalgia talking.
Absolutely.
For now, we're going to set aside Tomba, and we are not going to randomly select from our retro master list. This is getting redundant now.
Nope. We
I'm not
stay
mad
in the
about it.
pool.
It's time for a Patreon pool. Stats by Shane.
That's by Shane.
Console, PS1, PS2, and hey, listen, GameCube.
I like that. That's up there.
Okay.
GameCube's up there. And you might be happy to hear that we had some community pulling together this week.
my god!
Oh, we asked them to, and they delivered.
But it needs to be on a good game.
Guys, we have 16 entries for Super
Okay.
Mario Sunshine.
Wow!
Wow.
I would be so happy to play that.
It's at the top.
What if it doesn't get picked?
It's so many times when we've had lopsided stuff, it's
know.
just picked a like one-off entry, and so it certainly is no guarantee. But math does exist and it works, and so like
Well, and that's
Good
why it
job.
doesn't get picked. So that's because as many as you have together, you still have an overwhelming amount of any other game.
Sure.
So 16 for Super Mario Sunshine, 13 for Castlevania Aria of Sorrow. Those are the
happy.
two that they're pushing.
I would be both of those is like that's my era.
I'm down for either. 8 for The World Ends With You,
I've never played it, but would love to.
Interesting, yeah.
DS game.
and 7 for Silent Hill 2.
So this is like a perfect Patreon pull for me.
Okay.
I can't lose, except it could be a random Tomba too.
There are plenty of other games submitted, like 3 entries for Shadow of Madness by Daniel. Daniel submitted 3. Why 3? Because Daniel was a part of our recent expansion pack. What?
Yep.
Shadow of Madness, by the way, is an RPG for the PS1 that I don't know about.
I've never heard it.
Dominique entered Ghost Trick and Elite Beat Agents.
Also
sounds fun.
New to me.
Grammy C, a new patron, said entered Mother or Earthbound Beginnings, the very first one that we haven't played. And Mark entered Assassin's Creed 2.
That one's submittable?
That's submittable.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
From the Patreon submitted list, we are randomizing now. We don't always have to have a word that defines the summer pool party. You know, we've talked about last year, the year before, I really don't remember, the summer of weird. This year, I was wondering, one of us jokingly said, is it going to be the summer of gnarly? Because it started with Tony Hawk Underground. I think Tomba fits into gnarly.
It does.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Does. I feel like that works great here.
Which is interesting. It leaves it a little bit.
I was literally sitting here thinking the same thing. Like, I am in line with you.
It leaves it a little bit open-ended. We'll have to see if this game is. I don't think any of us 3 would know yet, because I don't think any of us 3 have played this game before.
Oh, God.
Okay, so that means clearly that it is not Super Mario Sunshine, it's not Castlevania, it's not Silent Hill 2 at least, so it's not one of the big ones, but it was submitted by 3 different individuals.
Okay.
Yeah. The game is a 1988 hybrid action-adventure shoot-'em-up game developed by Compile and published, at least in North America, by Broderbund and in the EU by Nintendo.
That's an old game.
Okay.
This game, guys, has been submitted by years by the one and only Ben Wilson. This Patreon pool joined by Keeks and Neo Kuja. The game that we'll be playing for the next 7 days is finally The Guardian Legend.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that old.
I didn't either. 1988.
Okay. I'm excited.
I don't know if for the Nintendo Entertainment System. I'm interested, and I'm super excited for Ben.
Yeah, me too. I'm happy for Ben.
Ben's been diehard on this one for a long time.
Now, to the rest of you, keep submitting, keep pulling together. There'll be another one. I want to play those games that you're submitting, so keep trying.
Don't listen to Nolan, though. It can be anything. Just pull together. It'll work, I promise.
Do what you want. That's the whole idea.
Find a copy of The Guardian Legend and play it along with us and Ben and Keeks and Neo Kuja. Play it along with us for the next 7 days.
Join us in Discord. Go to discord.gg/ngp podcast.
You can also support us on patreon.com. You'll be joining the newest patrons who are casting their vote for your favorite retro gaming podcast, Super Oats, Grammy C, and thank you to a longtime community member, Ken Gagney. Appreciate you upping your patronage. So shout out to all of those 3 and to the many producers we have who are on board for this summer's activities, including Alex, Marlene, Anton, and Ben, Bill R, Champagne Vinaigrette, Cody, Craig, Dagany, Flombus, Garlisle, Hallex, Harold, Hey Brother, Hot Tamales, JB Crest, J Robert, Jake Jordan, Justin Klin, Lapidus Landris, Levi, Maxima, Megatroid, Miss Muso, Not Enough Dog, Radback, Riff, Sagen, Scotty Shane, Shauna, Snake Maddox, Spinny the Jet, Stephen Fox, Super Garbage Day, Super Hybrid, Swaggy Taco Fish, Psycho Manus, shout out, Thomas, Unbedavable, and Zion. And, of course, to our director-level supporters as well, Bro Jim Sasser, Mystic Tins, and Siegfried. Our summer is big, and that's a long list, and we love that you guys get to be a part of it.
Kenny, that was probably your best ever.
I mean, you did good. I am confused as to why JB Cress is before Jake.
Because... I don't know. Well, it depends on if you imply a period after the J and the B or not. And I think in my mind I did.
Justin Bieber Crust. You can find us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Links are in the show notes. Listen directly on any podcast provider of your choice. Make sure you subscribe so that you are the first to get new NGP episodes. And while you're at it, please leave a kind rating and review. Our episode artwork was created by our friend Dave. Our video episode was edited by our friend Dylan. Our audio episode was edited and produced by our friend Dan Willett. Join us next week as we play The Guardian Legend. I'm happy for Ben. I really am.
Same.
Until then, I'm still the piggy that went to the market.
I'm still hoping this game is gnarly.
I don't remember what the other piggies did.
We all the way home.
I do that.
And this has been New Game Pork.